What's up, guys? It's your boy Justin here with another X-Men month review. Today we're reviewing the Epic Collection, The New Mutants, Volume 1 Renewal. Written by Chris Claremont with art by Bob McLeod, Sal Buscema, Ron Frenz, and John Buscema, which I think is brothers of Sal Buscema. I could be wrong. Yeah, so this collects comics from 1980 through 1984. This is rated T for teen. Right, this collects the Marvel graphic novel issue 4, which is actually the first appearance of the New Mutants. Though Sean had a appearance before that, which Sean is the Vietnamese New Mutant, which I forget her name. This also collects New Mutants issues 1 through 12, Uncanny X-Men 167, Marvel Team Up Annual 6, Magic issues 1 through 4, which was a mini series where they introduced how Magic got her powers, right? And material from Marvel Team Up 100, right? So this collection goes for $39.99 US, 52 Canadian, right? And if people want to order it, there's the ISBN number. You can pause it. I mean, sometimes they'll ask for it, sometimes they don't if you go to their comic book store or whatever. Yeah, so let's go through the art of the book here. So the first appearance of Sean was in Marvel Team Up and the Fantastic Four. Oh, her name was Karma. Okay, which, yeah, we get Karma's origin story. Turns out she's one of the boat people, which were people like Vietnamese people fleeing South Vietnam, which turned into a communist country, right? And this has art by Frank Miller, believe it or not. And yeah, like Sean is trying to possess Spider-Man to attack her evil uncle, who tricked her brother, who also has mutant powers just like her, the powers to possess people into committing evil wrongs. So she's trying to possess Spider-Man to like defeat her uncle and brother so she can rescue her little brother and sister. And she sends Spider-Man after him, not knowing that the Fantastic Four are at this guy's party, right? Which is like a fundraiser, I think. I can't remember. So like, yeah, the Fantastic Four fight Spider-Man only to realize, oh yeah, he's being possessed, right, by a mutant, and they call the X-Men to figure out who the hell is this mutant, right? And you get cameos from the X-Men, which later on in this book, the X-Men are lost in space. They got kidnapped by the Brood, which are Chris Claremont's basically ripoff of the Xenomorph from Alien, which he already kind of ripped off in this demon story, right? So they eventually figure out that like Sean is the true victim, right? And they help her out, right? So that's the first issue. Next, we get to the New Mutants, right? Where we get the origins of Sam Guthrie, Cannonball. Is the camera going to focus? Who's from Kentucky? You have Roberto. I forget his last name. Roberto Da Costa, who's Brazilian, whose called Sunspot, whose powers are he can use the energy from the sun to become super strong. Cannonball can launch off. He basically has the Shin or whatever his name is from Fire Force powers, but he's invincible while blasting off. You have Danny Moonstar, who has the powers to. She's basically a psychic where she can take your worst fears and manifest them. You have Rain, who's the Scottish girl who can turn into a wolf and a werewolf, and you have Sean, who can possess people. So this is the story where we first get introduced to our New Mutants, right? You have Rain runs into Moira McTaggart from in Scotland. You have Roberto's powers manifest on the football field. It's called football. Soccer is called football in Brazil, I think. There where you see his rich dad and his girlfriend. At first, I thought that those were his parents, right? And his powers manifest when he gets attacked by this bigot who calls him HB, which you can figure out what that means later. Yeah. Here you have Sam Goofy's powers manifest during a cave-in where at a mine that he's working at, who he's forced to work at like 16 because his dad died, right? So he uses powers to save someone. And here you get Danny Moonstar, who does not like the, what's it called? The Gaijins. We'll call them Gaijins, right? And here you find she's like kind of an outcast. She loves nature. She can communicate with animals, maybe because that's part of her telepathic powers. Here, she argues with her grandfather, who wants to send her to Professor Xavier. Apparently, they're old friends, but she's like, "You would send me to a Gaijin's house? Fuck that!" And then here you see she manifests his worst fears, which is dying. Apparently, she can see into the future because like he gets killed by henchmen of the Hellfire Club. And here's the main villain, which is what's his name? Pierce. I forget his name, but he was in like a Uncanny X-Men book we reviewed, right? So he's a member of the Hellfire Club who hates mutants, right? And want to get rid of all the mutants in the Hellfire Club so he can take it over. And he wants to either kill or recruit the New Mutants. I forget which. It's been a while, okay? And at first, this is during the time when the X-Men were lost in space, and Professor Xavier doesn't want to train any more mutants into becoming X-Men. But after having these mutants show up at his door, Moira McTaggart convinces him to take them in and train them, right? So yeah, so like the main story of this graphic novel. Oh my god, dog! You're always barking. Somebody's probably shown up. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, what ends up happening is I'm gonna shut my dog up. Yeah, sorry about that. Here you see the goons of the Hellfire Club show up to kill Danny's grandfather and kidnap her, right? And the same thing kind of happens here, where they kidnap Roberto and his girlfriend. And I thought it was kind of a nice touch that a lot of these goons are cyborgs who've been like critically injured by Wolverine, so they're totally scared shitless of Wolverine. That's cool. Also, there's a thing where like Sam Goofy got because he's poor. John Pierce, whatever this guy's name is, Donald Pierce, that was his name, hires him as a henchman, and so at first he kind of fights the New Mutants, right? But then joins their side when he realizes they're evil, right? And then at the end of the graphic novel, all of our characters are together. By the way, if you haven't watched my Strike Force Moriarty review, Bob McLeod did the art for that too, right? So now we have the start of the new series where we get introduced to Stevie Hunter, who's like assistant to Professor Xavier at the school, right? Who, as far as I know, doesn't have any mutant powers. So why is she part of the cast of characters? I have no idea. So this arc is basically like our characters are getting to know each other. They've had some bumpy, embarrassing moments with each other where Danny's powers unwillingly like shown like Sean's messed up backstory, which she's like 18, I think. Everybody on the team's like between like 13 to 18, right? Like Sam Goofy, I think, is the second oldest, who's at 16. I forget how old Roberto, I think, is 14, and the other, like Danny's, I think, 14 or 16, and Rain is like 13, right? So yeah, this story is about basically somebody is trying to gaslight Danny Moonstar that she's like basically crazy, and it turns out it was the Brood controlling Professor Xavier. Also, there's government agents after them. There's a cameo from like a female Miss Marvel character, right? Here you see the Brood. Which is cool that the X-Men show up and help defeat the Brood. Also, we have blue and gray Sentinels show up, so I forgot about that. Yeah. So, where's that guy? Is that him? No, that's not him. That's Banshee. So yeah, we're gonna go to the second arc. Here you see the fight between the Brood and the X-Men show up. Right. So that was pretty cool. There's also a fight between the New Mutants and the X-Men. There is... this felt like almost like a PSA where you find out that somebody is... It's funny that after this epic, battle between the X-Men and the Brood, and also the Starjammers show up. You have the Shi'ar chick. Xavier has a girlfriend. Oh, by the way, this was kind of dumb. At the end of this story, one of the issues ends with Kitty Pryde, like Professor Xavier kicking Kitty Pryde out of the X-Men, and she's supposed to join the New Mutants, right? Only for him for off screen they changed that so she stays with the X-Men. I thought that was dumb. So yeah, here we have like a PSA episode where Stevie is being stalked over the phone by somebody, and it turns out it was a teenage boy who was being abused, so they have to help him out. So I thought, oh my god, what a mundane issue, but it was still pretty good. Next, we have another team up with Spider-Man, Cloak and Dagger, and the New Mutants. Where Cloak and Dagger, you find out, have their powers because they were runaways who got kidnapped by the Mafia, forced to do drugs that gave them superpowers, and the Mafia is still doing that, kidnapping teenagers to give them powers, right? So you have Cloak and Dagger team up with Spider-Man and the New Mutants because the New Mutants had some of their teenage members kidnapped by the Mafia, right? So yeah, that was pretty cool. Next, and by the way, their powers, like, Rain became, because they were on drugs, Rain became like a full-on werewolf, and Roberto Costa became like more powerful. So next we have another arc where we get introduced to the stuntman group called Team America, who have the power who are also turns out to be mutants and have the power to summon a superhero called the Dark Rider, right? And the villains of this arc are Lady Viper and Silver Samurai. Here's the Dark Rider, who reminds me of a tokusatsu hero called Gecko Kamen, also known as Moon Mask Rider. So yeah, what happens is Danny Moonstar gets kidnapped, and the New Mutants and the Team America have to team up to rescue her, right? And the reason why the Team America got involved because they used to do heists, and Viper needs them to steal a crystal. So the final arc, we'll skip to the final arc. By the way, one of their members dies or is missing. We're not exactly sure. It was Sean, by the way. The next arc turns out where the Hellfire Club is trying to recruit Roberto da Costa's father, who's like a billionaire or millionaire in Brazil, and his mother's an archaeologist, and the Hellfire Club is helping him out. There's also a villain in this, a villain who reminds me of Mr. T from A-Team, called Axe. I thought that character was cool. But yeah, basically this arc is like the Sebastian Shaw and wants to recruit Roberto's dad into the Hellfire Club. And they're helping Roberto's dad because Roberto's dad wants to stop Roberto's mom, who's an archaeologist, from protecting the Madura, which is part of the Amazon. He wants to exploit its resources, which it turns out there's a hidden society in the Madura, which it's basically like a Roman version of the Savage Land, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, and they fight this mutant sorceress and a new member joins the team. A new mutant joins the team, which is Magma, who's from Nova Roma. And then the final, next is like after this shit, which we'll just skip it because this video is getting long. Is we find out the origins of the magic, which is Ileana's sister, who got kidnapped when she was 4 years old or something. Is this the final issue? Who got kidnapped when she was 4 years old, and the X-Men went to Limbo to rescue her, and she got kidnapped by this demon sorcerer Belasco, and this has art by John Buscema, right? And this was pretty cool. You see that she's pretty much stuck in Limbo, this hell, for like 6 or 7 years, and during her time there, she gets trained by alternate versions of the X-Men who got stranded there. Like you have Kitty Pryde as Cat, who's like a ninja superhero, and you have Storm, who became a sorceress, right? And they both train her, give her future skill sets, right? And Belasco took a part of her soul and turned her evil, right? Because Belasco is stuck in Limbo. Kitty Pryde is called Cat because Belasco turned her part cat, right? Oh my god. Someone had to do laundry while I was making this video. Oh my god. But yeah, my dog is barking again, so I'm just gonna end this review. So basically, it's basically an Alice in Wonderland, but a young hero's journey, where while she gets tormented through hell, learns magic powers, basically learns sorcery, and also learns her mutant powers and learns certain skills from her two mentors, which is Kitty, pretty cool alternate version of Kitty Pryde, and Storm, who's a sorceress. Which there's a fight between evil Nightcrawler and them, and it's fucking brutal how she defeats them. She basically phases his foot through the ground and runs him through. Yeah, so it's not until the final issue where she basically gets her superpowers and finally defeats Belasco, right? She gets a flaming magic sword and everything. And her actual mutant power is teleportation, right? So yeah. So I'm just going to go through my likes and dislikes. Growing up, when I first started reading comics, I first tried out the teen superhero comics, and a lot of them sucked. Almost all of them I read sucked except for the Runaways, and even then, when they switch creators, the Runaways sucks. This is the first time I've ever, like, not the first time, but the one thing I noticed where, like, the only good teen superhero books were done in the 80s and 90s, basically. The art was good, the stories were good, lots of adventure, lots of unique, like, strategies with the powers, right? It's not like our characters are overpowered. They have to actually use strategy to defeat their opponents. I thought that was pretty cool. Cool. Dislikes. A certain comic creator from the 70s accused manga of over-sexualizing pre-adults or whatever, teenagers, and they do the same thing here, especially in the Nova Roma. In the Nova Roma arc, which was creepy as fuck. Yeah, so basically, I didn't like that. There were some errors, grammar errors, there were some inking errors, right? Like there was one point where Silver Samurai looked bald because they were missing some ink on his head. Overall, though, I enjoyed this book, and I would give it like 8 out of 10. Lots of content here, and it's well worth the price. I would totally recommend this epic collection. Alright, guys, peace. Our next X-Men month review is going to be X-Men Siege, which I have it right here. So look forward to that. Peace.